Before we begin our podcast, we would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we are recording on. For me, that's the Bariatric people, and for Hayley, it's the Dharawal people. We got this. Yeah. Let's just find some music we don't have to pay for. Yeah. Okay. So I guess for all of our 5s to 10s of listeners and viewers, this is Drag Me Out with Cass, that's me, and Hayley. That's Hayley. That's me.
Drag me out.
I think when we were talking the other day, it was going to be like Drag Me Out, paying homage to your Canadian roots.
Yes.
I think before we even start anything, I just want to apologise to everybody for the lateness of this podcast. I had to make an emergency stop at my favourite hotel, the Royal North Shore Hospital.
Her pancreas was just so excited. It was just bursting at the seams.
I spent... How many years did I tell people when they were, teeing me off and all of that they were upsetting my pancreas? And now I have scans and tests to prove it. So that's good. But they only gave me 5 milligrams of the, as we like to pronounce it, end one. End one, instead of the endo. But everything is okay. And I now also have found out that I have a cyst on my ovaries. So... we're referring to it as my sister. It's my sister.
I'm trying to think of the queen that had a cyst. Kimchi? Is it kimchi?
No. It wasn't it like Sakura or whatever it was. She had the thing on her eye. She had basically herpes on her eye.
No. The other one that had it was in between her legs. It was painful for her to walk.
Oh, I can't remember which one that was, but yeah, I'm that queen right now.
Okay. You don't even use your ovaries, but okay.
I don't, and this is what I said to the doctor when she said to me, you've got a cyst on your ovaries. It's probably going to be nothing, but if you want to do something about it, I'm like, take my ovaries out. I don't care. I've got powdered eggs. It's all good. Just take them out now. Buy them dinner. Take them out. And she was like, well, we won't be doing it tonight, but we're going to send you home with a little gift bag of drugs. So I was okay with that. I would just like to also say legal drugs that were prescribed to me by a hospital and a doctor, not something that I just picked up on the local corner.
Again. Anyway, we drag.
We do drag, yeah. Welcome to the stage. Drag.
So it says it takes about 40 episodes to get into the podcast flow of things. So we'll see everyone in 2048 and, that'll be...
Yeah, everything will be fine in between hospital visits and stuff. So I guess we should introduce ourselves. Hayley, would you like to go first?
Well, as Cass has said, my name's Hayley. We're your resident drag enthusiasts. I wouldn't call myself a professional because I still can't remember stuff, so I'm just going to go with drag enthusiasts. See what I did there. And This is our podcast about drag queens and gastric bypass journeys that we've both had. Cass is a little bit further along than I am. We're still sort of living that same gastric bypass life. So this is our drag gastric bypass podcast. See what I did there?
I did see what you did there. So I'm Cass, and as Hayley has said, I'm a little bit further along in my gastric bypass journey, lifestyle change. I had mine November of 2021. And I'm also a drag enthusiast. My drag enthusiasm goes back a little bit further than Hayley's does because I'm a couple of seasons older than Hayley. But we just to be quite honest with everybody, this podcast has been about 5 years in the making. We had set out with a dream for young, innocent people while we were working together. And it just never eventuated. And then life took over. And then we had a pandemic. And Hayley went and procreated another child for the world.
Sorry.
No, that's well. Don't be sorry yet. I mean, he's not really socialized just yet. Wait for that. And yeah. And then we decided to start the podcast after going to a drag expo this year down in Melbourne, the first one of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. And I noticed that, and it was fantastic. It was the best time ever, and everyone was lovely. But I noticed that there wasn't that element of broadcasting that, you know, you would be able to find. Like they did a great job on the social medias and all of that other stuff, but it felt like it just needed that extra something to be able to get it out. Like there were great crowds, and it was 2 years of waiting for this, but it seemed.
It felt very put together in a night. Like there wasn't this hype. Like the convention center didn't have, like, you know, the advertising or the banners. Like it was sort of like, yep, you're off to this little room, here's the directions to Drag Expo, and then you go in there and you're like, wow, like, you know, there's heaps here. I just felt that it was very like, oh, let's just let day one happen and then fix the problems on day two.
Yeah, exactly. But it just felt like it just needed that something a little extra. And, you know, while we're not setting out to become, you know, uber famous Howard Sterns of the world and that wanker that always gets Joe Rogan or whatever his name is, but it just seemed that it would have been, I personally felt, and this is probably from the want of wanting to do a podcast, was that it would have been nice if there had been something live like that happening, you know, so we could get the queens over and, you know, check out what they're wearing and find out their story and all of that. And that, you know, we found out ourselves by walking up to the queens that were the local ones that weren't as famous, weren't on RuPaul's Drag Race or anything like that. And the more that we spoke to them, and the more that I spoke to them in particular, the more I started to find out that their stories are quite interesting. And the reality is that everybody has a story. You just have to find it.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Like, I just felt like it wasn't as immersive as it could have been. Like, having someone, you know, there or a couple of booths doing drag makeup on people who, you know, might, like me, I can't do makeup for shit. But if I went there and, you know, paid, you know, say $50 or $80 for them to do, you know, a half an hour makeup tutorial with me, like I would have paid that. I felt it was a little money grabbing, like we're just here to sell stuff. So I found like if I could be a bit more immersed in it, I would have had a better time. Not that I didn't have a great time. It was fantastic, but I just feel it could have been done better. Yeah. And Sydney 2023, give us a call. We'll give you some tips on how to run Drag Expo.
Or just listen to this podcast. Yeah. And that would be. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. That would be one of the things that I would be extraordinarily interested in doing, and it's something that I have been going over in my head. Is that, you know, hopefully we would be able to get a booth at one of these and do live podcasts and have the queens come in and have a quick chat to them, and or, you know, the fans or whoever it is, so they can spruik themselves and their product.
Oh, 100%. And the amount of talent that wasn't advertised that was still there walking around.
Beautiful.
Yeah, like amazing dresses, and you know they've spent hours and hours trying to get themselves ready, and I just feel that they weren't acknowledged as much as they should have been. I think that came down to maybe poor organization, But then, we can't really blame that because everyone was iffy about going because, pandemia. And they couldn't
Plus,
sort of lock in queens and I
yeah,
understand that aspect of Drag Expo.
yeah.
It was hard to sort of organize. So hopefully 2023 they learn from their
Yeah.
shortfalls and make it better.
So yeah, I think ultimately, I mean, there's always going to be an end goal that isn't openly discussed when people start podcasts and all of that other thing, and that's great, and that's something to think about further down the future. But the idea of us being able to have a booth there, and be able to broadcast on even further rather than little snippets that you saw on the news or whatever it is. So broadcast a couple of times through the day. The idea of walking around for 2 days isn't overly appealing to me. So sitting down and having them come to me would be great.
And like the other thing is that everyone we spoke to was just so lovely. They were so happy that you stopped to have a chat with them. I had my little autograph book that I made myself because I was worried that I'd get there and they wouldn't have booths. And I was right. Like probably around 50% of them didn't have booths. So I had to, pull out the book and be like, here. And they were like amazed and grateful that I actually had their photo on something.
Oh, is that me? Is that me? You know who I am. Yeah. But that was actually a very sweet interaction to witness too.
Yeah.
That they were getting recognition without thinking that they deserved recognition. Where they do. I mean, these people they're artists, and they're entertainers, and they're extraordinarily down to earth, and God, some of the friendliest people I've ever come across in my life.
I agree, and you don't expect them to be. I don't know. I think that's because we do watch a lot of RuPaul's Drag Race, and it is full of a lot of shade. But that's obviously how they get their laughs and entertainment value.
Yeah, and the editing as well.
Let's blame the editing. Expect them to be a little bit bitchy, but I didn't encounter that at all.
No, they were so forthcoming with their time, and you're like, oh, can I have a photo? And they were just surprised that you wanted to have a photo with them, and it's just such an amazing part of whether it's the queer culture or any culture in general, really. I mean, there are some cultures that don't appreciate homosexuality and all of that other stuff, but they still have, parts of their community from the past where, a male in the family dresses and chooses to be the woman in the family to take care of the family. And I'm talking Pacific Island nations, so, it kind of, and, there's always going to be that aspect of it that's not in the mainstream, which is great. But, the fact that it's readily available to, John and Jill Q. Citizen and their children, because there were quite a few kids there too. It was a nice family day, So, I mean, I personally can't wait again. I can't wait for next year. And whether it be in Sydney, Melbourne, Auckland, they may do one in New Zealand or, wherever they choose. I know they're doing one. They've confirmed Sydney, I believe.
They have. Yeah.
And I think Melbourne. But, and I think because of there are still some travel restrictions and some worry about COVID, that, that may be the reason why some of the queens from New Zealand didn't come over.
Yeah, and like I understand that part as well. Like it would have been hard to organize, especially because we had our flights moved. So obviously, if people couldn't make it, then that's that.
Yeah.
The other probably con that I'll have to say was we were VIPs, and the VIPs I didn't find got any sort of special treatment.
No,
besides,
considering we had to make our own line.
yeah, we made our own line for a queen. I'm not going to say who because don't come for me. And but we had to because that was the condition of the VIPs was that we got to go to the front of the line with the meet and greets. And it would have taken us all day to wait, and we paid extra money to do that.
Yeah.
And we lost all our other meet and greets with our bigger queens that we wanted to meet. But yeah, so that was probably the con. They sort of fixed that on the second day, I think.
Ish. Yeah.
But there should have been a little bit more emphasis on, because why would you want to pay the extra money to be a VIP when there was no benefit?
Well, exactly. I mean, the only thing that we got for the VIP status was a tote bag and a t-shirt.
Yeah. And the t-shirts weren't anything fancy. It was just a shirt with
a drag expo on it, which was, and that was fine. And that was great. And, you should get something like that if you're the VIP, but you should get something else. And I know we're talking like Karens and first world problems and all of this, but this is the world that we're in. It's okay if we go from 5 to 4 listens. It's fine. So yeah, I mean, I for one am looking forward to next year, and obviously, the international queens that they had commitments and they got lives that they need to pay for and all of that, and their touring schedules needed to be adjusted, and the array of queens that we had there were fantastic anyway, and they were just, I think, even though there were the cons, I think one of the biggest pros was everybody was happy to be there.
Yeah.
Because it was 2 years in the making.
Yeah. I think there would have been a bit more complaints if it was.
Yeah.
Not
probably.
2 years. I think we just was like happy with a little paper bag and a tent if that meant that we could hang out with drag queens for the day. But yeah. Obviously, they got some stuff to fix, so we've got plenty of years to fix that. A shout out to Victoria Police because they had their LGBTQI plus, LGBTQIA plus. Their liaison officers there. I got a photo with them. They were absolutely lovely. They explained why they were there. They explained what their purpose was, and they just felt like they were just there to just include people, and that was a really good feeling from the boys in blue. Yeah,
and gals. There were a couple of girls there too.
There was. I just got a photo with the boys.
Well, that's what straight people do. Yeah, I would have too, but it's all too hard. Yeah, I know. But without you straights, there won't be any gays. So, thank you for that. But and they were also there in a professional manner for, arresting drag queens, for crimes against fashion. But that was a really bad dad joke. I'm so sorry.
Mark that one.
But we're definitely looking forward to it. And, just to do a kind of segue, for lack of a better, there were a couple of food stalls there, which was great. I personally had an ice cream. It made me feel like crap for the rest of the day after it, but I didn't care. I just wanted my freckle cone. So, and it was great that they had some food carts and coffee carts and, all of that other stuff. But, I sincerely hope that next year there'll be an even more vast array, because it wasn't like you could step out of the convention center and go to the local because of the where it was situated. Yeah. And so I guess that kind of moves us into our bariatric journey. So does Hayley want to do the honors first?
Sure. So I had mine in May. I think it was 4 months yesterday, since having it done. I guess I can make excuses and say, like, oh, this stuff made me get, overweight, or this stuff made me overweight. But really, as a woman, I feel that we get the short straw when it comes to weight loss. I was doing everything I possibly could. I was, counting my calories and meal prepping and going to the gym 4 to 5 times a week, and nothing was budging. And it's so disheartening. And I understand, like, oh, you shouldn't look at the scales, but when your clothes aren't, making that adjustment either, and you're just feeling worse and you're sore all the time, it's something that it's really disheartening. I guess mine really started when I felt pregnant for the first time. You put on a lot of weight. I had a very large baby, and then, went to go back into it again. I had the doctor prescribe me Duromine. That wasn't great. I didn't know what it was. I lost a lot of weight, and then you come off it, and then you start eating again, and then you put the weight back on. So, and it just kind of got worse from there. I felt pregnant again, and probably 2-3 months after that, trying to get back into the gym and start eating right, and just nothing was budging. So it's just sort of it's a really disheartening feeling. And I was supposed to get it in 2019, but all elective surgeries were postponed, and I just couldn't line up work with the surgery. So I just said, don't worry about it. But then I started to get more and more unhappy with myself, and just sort of bit the bullet, I guess. And that's how I got bariatric surgery. So my starting weight was, I remember them weighing me right before surgery. I was at 126.9 kilos. Don't know what that is in pounds.
I was just about to grab my phone to do the conversion.
I know it's like 2.2 pounds to a kilo.
Pounds to a kilo. What did you say it was? 126.9. 126.9. So in pounds, that was 279.76.
Okay, so that's a lot. I don't like pounds. Can we not use pounds again? All right, and
make our international people work for it.
And my current weight, I weighed myself just after Melbourne, so that was the start of this month. That I was like 107. It's about 1.5 kilos a week that you lose doing this. And then, do you want to talk about your journey?
So my bariatric journey. So when I was younger, I was quite athletic. And then as my teen years rolled in, I started to become that stubborn brat where I was starting to lack discipline. And then I got quite ill in my early 20s. And then it started to bloom there. And, I would try to exercise, I would try to diet, I would try to do all of this, and nothing worked. And so at my heaviest, so my surgery was the 17th of November of 2021. And my starting weight was 178.5 kilos, which Siri tells me is 389.11 pounds. Like, that's huge. My current weight now is 126.7 kilos. So I've smashed through the 50 kilo barrier. And, we've read the stories and we've talked and everything. And the first 6 months, it comes off. And obviously the more you have to lose, the quicker it comes off. And then after the first 6 months, then you actually have to start working for it, which I've been doing. And it becomes a gradual decrease over the next 12-ish months. But I can say from a mental health point of view, in my general life, very, very happy. I'm happily married. We've got the 2 puppies. I've got a good job, all of that other stuff, but there was always that one aspect. And I personally thought at the time that when I was at my heaviest, I still didn't have an issue with my weight. And it isn't until you start to lose the weight where you go, oh, hang on a minute, I actually was unhappy. Like, I knew there was a problem. Physically, there was a problem. Yeah. My doctor would say to me, like, you need to lose weight, you're going to die. And I'm like, everyone dies anyway. But I had back issues, and, I I would do my job and, I would finish up and, have a shower or do whatever. And then I'd just go and lay in bed because that was the only thing that was relieving my back. And then an unfortunate thing happened to a partner of a friend of mine. And he sadly passed away, and it kicked me into gear because I kept thinking to myself, and it was almost a knee-jerk reaction at the same time as, the best thing I ever decided, because I kept thinking to myself, I can't put my wife into the position where she may have to make that call, whether or not to pull the plug. I mean, I know my wife well enough to know that she'd be ripping it out of the wall. But
yeah, if she didn't do it, I was going to do it.
Yeah. Someone accidentally trips over the cord. No, I get it.
I need to plug my phone.
That's exactly right. I need to plug stuff in. Things need to happen. My ring light needs to be charged. I mean, and I don't know how you're handling everything, especially because you're in the first few months. It messes with your mind, and no matter how mentally prepared you think you are, you find out very quickly that you can only be so prepared. I had a very poor relationship with food before the surgery. If it was fried, it needed to be fried more. And then I was having a problem with the food after, because, you're trying to figure out what you can and can't eat, and your go-tos are no longer my go-tos anymore.
Yeah, I found that a lot with bread in particular, because it's such an easy sort of snack to have. Like even the cheese and bacon rolls from Coles or Woolies or whatever, when you're shopping, if I'm hungry, I'd be like, oh, I just grab that because it's a quick little snack. It's not plain bread. It's something to have. Now I look at it and I'm like, I don't want to eat that because I just don't want to endure that pain that comes with it. Yeah. I guess, though, it's not that I regret the surgery. I don't at all. Obviously the first couple weeks you're just like hating life. You're coming off sugar and you're coming off carbs, and it does play with you mentally. Yeah. But once you sort of start to see those scales and that weight drop off, you're at that point where you're like, okay, this is working now. It's not an overnight thing.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do. People tend to have that concept of it being, a cop out or the easy way out. I'm like, it's not at all. Dieting and exercise
not at all.
is easier than this. You have to change your entire lifestyle. And especially when, you have kids and and a husband and you cook them dinner, you can't eat that. Like you have to cook yourself either something separate or, have a little snacks. And that's generally what I do now is I'll just have like a little snack for dinner because I don't really want to cook again. So those are I wouldn't say regrets, but those are the things. If you are planning on doing this, then you just have to prepare yourself.
Yeah.
You will regret it, but you won't eventually. And it's just about not slipping into those bad habits after having the surgery as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay if you do, like everyone's entitled to a bad day, but it's one of those things that if you have the surgery, you think to yourself, oh, well, if this doesn't work out, I'll just go back to the burgers and all of that. Like you can't. You can't go, oh, I'll just go down to the local and, grab a chicken schnitty and, chips and a salad with mushroom sauce or whatever. God, that sounds really good right now. A chicken palmy with some salad. That'd be lovely. I mean, lettuce is my mortal enemy right now. And it's not as simple as being able to go down to the local servo and grabbing yourself, a Mrs. Max pie or a travel pie or something like that. Like I'd give up my mum for a pie right now, but you can't get to the point of, well, if this doesn't work and I don't like it, then I'll just go back to the normal eating. The design of this surgery is to stop that. It forces you to make the decision. It forces you to go, well, I can't have that piece of chocolate today. Like I have the world's weirdest relationship with eggs right now. It wasn't a thing for me to, boil up a couple of eggs, hard boil a couple of eggs and just, eat them like a snack watching a movie. And I could do that with one boiled egg today, but tomorrow I could end up throwing it up,
I think you get into a weird, you get into a comfort with some food because, and I tend to do this, is I hyperfixate on something because I know I can eat it.
Yeah.
So my hyperfixation at the moment is the Lavosh little crackers and hummus. Love hummus. I can't do carrot. That's my little snack food. My other food fixation is broccolini and steak, and I'll get a nice ribeye and I'll cut it up into small bits and then I'll cook that. But then again, I had it 2 nights in a row, and on that third night, I got all cocky, ate it too fast, and up it came. So you do tend to. I have a weird relationship with chicken, but I've always had a weird relationship with chicken where I can eat it one day and then the next day I'm like, nope, no, thank you. So it's just about getting that right protein balance in, because your body is basically just absorbing the nutrients part and then dumping the rest. So if you eat something super high in fat or super sugary, your body's going to dump that really fast, whether it comes out the mouth, whether it comes out the bum.
Yeah.
You just got to be prepared, I guess.
But then you go onto the Facebook sites and they're like, I haven't had a problem since day one. I can drink a can of Coke in a day and I can still have a burger and all of this. And I'm like, well, bully for you. I'm on this stuff now. My level lemonade with pineapple,
What have I got? Send us free samples. I got this one.
Yeah.
Energize. This is what I'm living off. Love the sparkly waters. It makes me burp, and burping feels nice.
Well, this is marketed, if you actually read it, as consume a maximum of 1 bottle per day. This beverage is not a sole source of nutrition and should be consumed in conjunction with a nutritious diet. Well, I have a nutritious diet. Thank you to my bariatric surgery. Shout out to Dr. Craig Taylor. I love you. But this comes in like 5 or 6 flavors. And we were looking at it the other day online to see if we could buy a box. And it's not cheap. It was like $90 for a box of 34.
That is not cheap.
But it's tasty. It's not. But if it was just me drinking it, I could justify it. I could justify a bottle a day for 30 days at $3 a bottle. I could justify that. But unfortunately, my wife had a taste of it and loves it too. So, that could end up being, a $90 purchase every, 2 to 3 weeks. So level lemonade.
Free samples, send us.
Please and thank you. So my food fixation right now is, and I got this from a bariatric website that I can't remember the name of, is basically doing burritos with like chicken mince.
Oh, yeah.
And the low-fat cheese and everything. So get the little mini tortillas, the ones that are good for you, and, wrapping them up and putting them into the oven dish. And there's like, you can fit like 12 or 14 in it. And the best thing about these is, we meal prep and we put like 2 into a container, but I do a couple of containers where there's just the one for me, and that's a meal. And they're only like that big. They're not very big, so that's been a big thing for me. And then we tried some of the meal plans and recipes from HelloFresh, and some of them are great for, especially when you buy for the 2 people. It was leftovers. It was essentially getting 4 meals for the price of 2.
Yeah, we do Every Plate. Every Plate is like the cheaper version of HelloFresh, because my 7-year-old and my 1-year-old don't really need a gourmet meal. They just need their meat and 2 vegetables. And also the instructions make it easier for my husband to follow. So we get that cheaper one, but it gives us variety. Sometimes I can have it, sometimes I can't. It just depends. Like you said, you can have pasta for breakfast if that's what you feel like. Like that's just what you're going to eat that morning.
Because you're not going to have a lot of it anyway.
No. And Oh, actually, I'll add on to. Okay, so my weekly food fixation for this week is actually from Subway. I've got the whole grain wraps with chicken teriyaki, no lettuce, because lettuce is the devil's salad, and mozzarella with. No, I never liked onion before surgery, and now I like onion for some strange reason.
Onion's great.
I could cook with onion, but I can't eat it raw. And now I'm having Spanish onion from Subway. I feel so fancy.
You can't go wrong with a good Spanish onion, mate. Like, it just elevates.
So, yeah, that's my little guilty pleasure. And if I'm stuck somewhere and there's all I can see is fast food here, fast food there, nothing's fresh, I can't have sushi because I can't eat rice, I have to go to Subway.
Yeah. The rice thing will come back.
Look,
you'll be able to eat little bits.
I just wanted enough so I can have sushi again.
Well, you can get the I did it last weekend at Woolies. You know how they've got the sushi bars there now?
Not at my Woolies, but yes.
Oh, sorry. Apparently I live in the bougie part of town.
Yes,
so they've got the little sushi, and they were making it fresh when I was there, and it's the tempura prawn, a little bit of avocado, because I'm trying to get into avocado. It's never been a thing for me, textural wise, all of that. Yeah. And then they rolled it in the rice, and like they're already that big, you know, so 3 of them were a nice little snack.
Yeah.
For those of you who will be listening to this who are considering a rice and bread when you eat it, expanding your stomach. And especially rice if it's not cooked. And pasta's the same. Like, everyone knows for a pasta it needs to be al dente and it tastes great and all of this other. Like, you've got to cook the crap out of it in order for it to be palatable and not expand in somebody who's gone through a gastric surgery, whether it's sleeve or bypass. You know what I miss? I miss potato. I mean, I grew up. I struggle with it, and I think it's the starchiness of it. I mean, I grew up thinking that you couldn't have a protein without a potato, you know, whether it was, you know, chops, mashed potato and vegetables, you know, sausages, mashed potato and vegetables. Everything's going to be mashed potatoes and vegetables. You know, chops, chips and egg, all of that other stuff. And every time I talk about food and I start describing these things, I'm like, this is why I ended up having the surgery.
Well, when you grow up in the Great Depression,
scraping together our pounds, shillings and pence
to just buy that potato.
Yeah, and we had to share it amongst the whole family, that one whole potato.
Yeah. It's great.
Learn how
vodka with it, chips.
Yeah, that's it. Chips. That's it. Potato skins, fry them up with a little bit of sour cream and what do you call it? Chili sauce. I see. This is what happens. We start going onto a tangent, and then you're just like, I want. Like, I had.
Who's listening to this? They're just going to be hungry at this point.
Yeah, right. Like, I had pad thai for the first time a couple of weeks ago since the surgery, and I don't know if it was because I couldn't have it in the past. Like, I shared it with my wife. Like, I had a couple of spoonfuls of it. I'm sorry, but it was the best pad thai I'd ever eaten in my life. But I don't know if that's because I abstained from it for so long or whether or not it was a legitimately good pad thai.
Could have been a good pad thai. I didn't do well with pad thai, but it was a bit earlier on. I ended up the satay skewers and the money bags.
I love a good satay skewer.
Yeah, they're really good. And it's not like spicy. I hate spicy. And it's not spicy satay.
It's
nice white girl satay sauce.
Yeah. Now that we're talking about it, I think I might have a chat with my wife today about what we're going to have for dinner. And because she's not a big fan of Chinese food because she finds it too greasy. But, you know, I mean, it's something that I can divvy up into small meals, I guess.
It's really expensive.
It is. But I don't care right now. I just want sweet and sour chicken and rice. And I'd give everything up for a good milkshake too. But yeah, that Blue Haven one that we had at the airport was pretty good. But I don't know, it's one of those ones where you get the donut sitting on top of it and the sprinkles on the outside of the glass. Why you'd be licking the outside of a glass, I don't know. But
plus,
you know,
like the outside of a glass or a container just seems so dirty to me.
Well, it's touched by the person who's making it.
Exactly.
Like they're putting their greasy little hand on it, and then they're putting stuff on it where you've got to go like this. You're licking their whatever there is on their hands. Like most of them don't do it with gloves. Otherwise, you'd have to buy shares in Ansell or something like that because like they'd be using gloves every 30 seconds.
This trip that we went on, we actually came up with your name.
We did.
Your drag persona. Would you like
we
to
did.
tell people what that is?
Well, it wasn't a very long journey. It started out as I believe you threw up the idea of bariatric.
I still like bariatric, but yes, go on.
Look, it's okay, but not for the persona that I wish to have. So we came up with it's a gastric bypass.
I see what you did there.
So you see what I did there?
Yeah.
So my drag name will be, and probably forever, gastric bypass.
Well, see, I've never had a drag name, and I've never thought of one. Like, you know how you think of like your prostitute name or whatever it's called when you.
mine's like Butch Streeton. Yeah.
Mine's like Cheeky More or something, More Cheeky or something like that. But I was thinking about it, and I remember you used to always say this to me when I would change my hair, and someone would mention like, oh, you know, your hair looks nice today, or did you color your hair? And you'd be like, yeah, in the background, and I just hear this, yeah, it's Sunset Hooker number 9. So
Turkish blonde hooker number 9, or Scandinavian sunset number 3. Turkish hooker blonde. That's what it is. Yeah.
Well, now I'm not blonde, so I'm going with Sunset Hooker number 9 as my drag queen name.
Sunset Hooker number 9. I like it.
Because technically my hair is the color of a sunset when it's its natural color, I guess. So yeah, I'm feeling that. So that's my drag name, my drag persona.
Okay, so we've talked about DragCon and we've talked about gastric bypass surgery, and these will be running themes throughout the course of the podcast. One of the other things that we want to do, and we are definitely open to ideas. So if you want to put something in the comments about what you'd like to talk about or whatever it is, if we have to research it, we will. I mean, it's extra work, but whatever.
You could just tell us, because like only the 4 people that live in my house will be listening, and then the one person in your house. So
yeah, we've gone international. One of my friends in the States said that she'll listen to it, so we're already international. So well done to us. Yeah. But so whether or not it's throw out a challenge for us to watch a movie, and we have to talk about it, whatever. So this week in particular, we want to do what's called the weekly watch. The weekly watch. So whether or not it's a TV show or something on a YouTube or something on Insta. So I'm throwing the running order a little bit around. So one of the things that I thoroughly enjoyed this week was the mini Insta war between Vanity Fair, Wigs by Vanity, and Maxi Shield, and it was about how much Vegemite should go onto toast. Okay. And Vanity was like, because Vanity is also eating the Tip Top Slims that people who have bariatric surgery, these will become your best friends because it's the only breed you can have. And so Tip Top, if you're watching, I mean, you're charging me $3 a packet, so give me at least a 50% discount if you don't give it to me for free. It's all about the butter to Vegemite ratio, right? We see all of these people come from overseas, famous people, whatever it is, and they do the Vegemite and they slather it on like you're putting grease into an engine.
Or they just get a spoon and eat it out of the jar.
Yeah.
No.
So it was quite funny to watch because, Vanity was doing the whole little bit of butter, a little bit of Vegemite, and she showed it. And it was just like the sparest of coverage over it. And, as anybody who knows anything about Vegemite knows that it's extraordinarily salty. And then Maxi Shield pops up with her, English muffins where she's just slabbed it on, and it became a Twitter war, not a Twitter war, sorry, an Insta war over, how much is too much and all of this other stuff. And the thing that got me the most was Maxi was doing the thing on the reels or whatever they're called. And there was just this one pop up, and it was Maxi going, "It's not my fault you've got shit bread." So with that whole thing, I mean, I'm team vanity. It is about the coverage and proportionizing and all of that other stuff. And it needs to be hot toast, and the butter needs to melt. And then you put the light coverage on, and then you kind of see if you can mix it on the toast.
Yeah, I'm on team without tearing the bread up.
Without tearing the bread up, yeah.
I'm team vanity for sure. I like and I only really used to eat Vegemite when I was super hungover, because that's really the only thing you could stomach is Vegemite on toast. Yeah. I don't eat it now. I would much rather peanut butter.
But definitely team vanity fair on that one. Plus, I mean, Maxi had a mark against her because she had English muffins, and I miss English muffins and can't have them anymore. And so that was
one. It didn't feel great.
That was when we were in Melbourne.
That's the closest thing I've had to bread. What I'm watching, and I promised myself I wouldn't do this, but anyway, I am a huge Marvel fan. Not to the point. See, all the ones like Black Panther, Doctor Strange, I've got to be in the mood to watch, but I'll watch the Avengers. I like those ones. I love Iron Man. That's my favorite. Come at me. I don't care. So I was bored, and it was last night, and because my husband's on night shift, and I was lying in bed, and I just wanted to watch one episode of something with substance, and I couldn't find any. So I watched She-Hulk and Attorney at Law. I didn't hate it.
Dun, dun, dun.
I liked it. I liked the story. It had a little bit of comedic relief. It had the current Hulk, which is Mark Ruffalo, in it as well, and I like him in most things that he does. So
Mark can Ruffalo me anytime. I'd go straight for Mark Ruffalo.
They only had one episode out. It's getting released per week. So if I hated it, I wouldn't feel bad about not watching again. But I actually might stick to it. Just watch that one episode.
Wow. No, thank you for taking on my recommendation of A League of Their Own.
I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, thank you for taking on my recommendation.
Because that has 8 episodes or 10 episodes. So
it does.
That's a commitment. That's a whole day commitment for me. So last night I just wanted one episode and then fall asleep. No, so I will watch it. It's on my list. It's on Amazon. She-Hulk is on Disney. What I was gonna say is, spoiler alert for anyone who watched
Murder's in the Building. Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Murder's in the Building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Selena Gomez, Martin Short, and
Steve Martin.
That's right. Yeah, spoiler alert, so just don't listen to this part if you haven't watched the latest episode. I don't know how I feel about that being the killer. Is he the killer?
It's not the last episode. It's not the last episode.
I know,
and but... Yeah, but then remember in that episode, like, they kind of alluded to the podcast chick as well. Like, all intrinsically intertwined.
Yeah. So you know, but what we're talking about, who don't watch the show, it's a whodunit. They're on season 2. The first season was a different murder. The second season's a different murder, and it's based in the Arcadia in, I want to say,
New York.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big apartment building.
Oh, fun fact.
Yeah.
Can I interrupt with a fun fact? So the Arcadia building, that's the building that they used in the original Ghostbusters movie.
Well, that's fun. That was a fun fact.
Thank you.
At parties next time.
Yep. No worries. It'll do you at pub trivia nights, guaranteed. So please continue.
So yeah, I don't know how, because I really like him. He's the dad from I can't remember the actor's name, but he's the dad from Atypical, who's lovely. I just don't picture him as the murderer.
No, but it may be that Cinder person.
I think he might have had something to do with it, but
maybe. But then there was the and another spoiler alert: the assistant being that Betty Butler or whatever her name was, Becky Butler, where she's like, "I'm Becky Butler," you know.
Yeah.
But that's a great show, and you know, there's a slightly queer element in that as well. Is it Delavigne? The chick with the eyebrows.
Delavigne. I want to say.
Is it Delavigne?
Probably wrong. I don't know.
It probably is. I mean, you know, she's only English and we speak English, but apparently we can't say her name. So, you know, there were actually a couple of queer things. Like there's the next door neighbor with the cat.
Oh
when
God,
they're in the blackout and everything.
Because he was annoying, but I like him
Yeah.
now. Especially when Martin Sheen and the other actor, who I can't name, were fighting in the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Oh, I can't get on this one," and then they just start fighting again. And he's like, "Ew."
Yeah, it's up there. It's one of my favorite shows, and you know, for obvious reasons. Like I grew up watching Steve Martin movies and Martin Short movies and all of that, and you know, just finding out who Selena Gomez is, because you know that's the language of today's youth. And I'm not part of today's youth, but I don't know if we've actually spoken about this, but I'm a huge fan of Hacks with Jean Smart. And I think her name's Hannah Einbender. See, it automatically got me with Jean Smart. I mean, this woman is in her mid to late 70s, and she is
Phenomenal, by the way.
exactly right. Like she was always a beautiful woman, even back like in the designing women days, and I go back that far. And you know, from a physical point of view, a stunning woman. Even to this day. But her sense of humor has always been evident. Like she was the next door neighbor's drunk wife in the Brady Bunch movies. Next door
neighbor's drunk wife.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the Brady Bunch movies in years.
Yeah, like the guy who's like, you know, get back onto the Swiss Miss package where you belong. And, you know, when Cindy's asking for the mail and he's like, I'm sorry, I don't understand. And she's like, they want the Brady's mail, Rowley. Like that's her. And she's been in some, but she's a good drama actress as well.
Yeah.
But she, her in this, like she was the draw card, for me. And then I started to watch it, and you know, we got to the first season and I turned around to my wife and I said, you may as well just hand her the Emmy now and the Golden Globe, and like any award that she's nominated for, you may as well just give it to her right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, season 2, you know, how some shows season 2 is a bit of a drag, and, you know, you go, well, you know, they spent 20 years writing season 1 and like 20 seconds writing season 2. You know, so the content isn't always going to be that great. This was just as good for me. This was just as good season 2 as it was for season 1. Her character is just, I want to be her when I grow up, at the same time as I want to be Moira from Schitt's Creek. Like, I want to be that character when I grow up as well. Now, the show that I recommended to you, thanks for watching, which is A League of Their Own. Which is based on the movie, the movie A League of Their Own from like 1992, I think it is, and it had like Gina Davis, Madonna, Tom Hanks, Rosie O'Donnell. It was that kind of a cast, and it was directed by Penny Marshall. It's one of the funniest movies you're ever going to get.
Great movie.
Fantastic movie. So Abby Jacobson, who is the other half of the TV show Broad City. I think that's the name of the show. I can't remember the name of the other bird in it. Yeah. So she wrote and actually got approval from Penny Marshall before she passed away. Rest in peace, Penny. You were great. And actually got the okay from Rosie O'Donnell as well. Like she basically sent them the script and said, this is what I'm thinking of doing. So she's basically, it's like 8 episodes. It's 45 minutes-ish long. And she writes the show on the perspective of two people, which she's one of them, main character, Carson. And then there's a great African-American actress whose name escapes me, and it's about her struggle trying to get into baseball as well. And I was reading up on it a little bit, and one of the women who was originally in the All-American Girls Baseball Professional League back in the 40s and 50s, she was one of the last surviving ones, and they interviewed her, and she came out later in life. And she said, like, without any hesitation, that at that time, because I think it started around 1943 maybe. Mm-hmm. So at that time with the league, and there were like 4 teams in the league, 2/3 of the women playing baseball at the time were queer. You know, and it was never touched on in the Penny Marshall movie because obviously back in 1992, it wasn't something that you could throw into a movie. And then I was reading something about what Rosie O'Donnell was saying, and I don't want to quote because I'll get it wrong, but, you know, I'll paraphrase. It was something along the lines of her character was supposed to be gay, but they kept telling her to play it straight, but she played it gay. Even though her character was straight in the movie, she still played it from like a queer perspective, even though she had to, in the movie, have a boyfriend and all of that. So essentially, and you can't blame the people who made the movie. You can't blame Penny Marshall or anything like that. We're talking 30 years ago where, you know, like Ellen hadn't even come out by then.
If they didn't leave it out of the movie wouldn't have made the cinemas. The movie wouldn't have come out.
Absolutely not. And it probably would have been a fringe movie that was considered independent, you know, and only shown on like 3 screens in the whole entire country and all of this. But this became a blockbuster movie. Like, it's got some iconic lines in it, you know, the whole "there's no crying in baseball." We still use it in my house to this day. The queer storylines in this, they're done so well. They're, you know, it's not like, oh, we're going to have a couple of lesos in a kissing scene and all of this other stuff. It's you know, it's not content for, you know, the people who are like, oh, I'm going to watch 2 girls get it on and all of this other stuff. It shows their stories. It shows their struggles. It shows, you know, what kind of bigotry, whether it be for a person's gender, race, whatever it is, you know, it was very prevalent then. And I cannot recommend this show enough. Like, I've read reviews on it and people are like, it's 6 out of 10 and all of this. 9 times out of 10, those reviews are probably from, you know, straight white males. Whatever is done with the queer content in it is done. It's done gracefully, and you know, it's done with you thinking to yourself, oh, these aren't 2 women kissing. These are 2 people who are genuinely falling in love. These are just 2 people who are in love. They just happen to be same sex. You know, and that's what's happened. That's kind of what I felt was happening with A League of Their Own. Like, I loved it. And I fully intend to watch it again. And I Googled, and they're in pre-production for a season 2, which made me extremely happy because it was one of those things where with season 1 it ended and you're like, what? I need to know what happens next, which was the same as Only Murders in the Building.
Yes.
You know?
Episode's released on Tuesday. It's on Disney.
It is. So that's what we're watching from a non-drag race point of view. We're going to wrap it up by saying I did a little bit of research for next week. On Wednesday the 24th from 9 p.m. till 11:30 p.m. is Slay for Pay with Carmen Get It and Charisma Bell. And that is at 85 to 91 Oxford Street, Darlinghurst. And then the other one that I saw was Prada Clutch Live, Intimate and Untucked at North's Camaret from 8 to 10 at 12 Abbott Street, Camaret. And I'm pretty sure that if you Google those, you'll be able to see further on dates. And if there are any drag queens out there who are listening, whether it be Sydney, Melbourne, Bullamakanka, Timbuktu, Perth, wherever it is, send us a message and let us know, and we'll be able to advertise for you and let other people know where you'll be performing. So consider it some free advertising.
We'd love an interview.
We would love an interview. So if anybody's interested in coming in talking about anything drag, bariatric related, anything related, We'll whore ourselves for an interview. I don't have an issue with that.
No, did it before for free, so
That's it. We might as well start getting some kind of a payoff for it.
exactly.
So, everyone, thank you for taking the time to open your ears and listen to our podcast. I thought I was going to be a little bit more nervous doing it, but we seem to have done okay. And
It's basically just our phone calls, but we recorded them.
exactly, we can see each other now. We look forward to doing this again for you because I know that I want to do it again. So
follow us on Insta at DragMeOutOfficial.
We have DragMeOutOfficial on the TikToks. And this video will actually also be uploaded onto our Drag Me Out Official YouTube channel. So you'll actually be able to see us. And hopefully we'll be able to get it on Apple and Spotify and all of that. But for now, it will be on YouTube. Okay, so thank you for listening to us. And does Hayley want to do a sign off?
No. So take it away, Cass.
I've been not looking forward to this all week. Are you ready? I'm only doing this because Hayley's making me to, okay? I've got a Stockholm Syndrome thing going on. Okay. Don't be jealous of my boogie. And we're done.